Scooby-Dooby-Doo, should I back you? We got some research to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, come on, makes you. I guess I'm hitting pledge now. Come on and Scooby-Doo, Teen Titans, Looney Tunes, a bundle for you to consider. You're not fooling me, 'cause I can see you haven't even hit the printer. You know we got a lot of Kickstarters, so do your research, check your facts. Don't just back. So Scooby-Doo, if we back you, do you swear you'll have Scooby snacks? I can't do high. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, here are you. Got my shipping notification. We can count on you, Scooby-Doo. I know we'll catch that villain. And if you are new to this channel, it has been a long time since I sung. I used to sing here and there, occasionally, rarely, not frequently. It's a thing I did once and then proceeded to regret it mostly after, but hey, surprises are still a thing. So, what is it today? Happy Thursday for you, apparently. So, let's go through everything Scooby-Doo, or more specifically, the animation collection. You're only getting one song, not three, and the animation collection is going to be Scooby-Doo the board game, Looney Titans, and Teen Titans Go, both using the Mayhem system from CMON. The animation system is going to be these three Kickstarters. We will go through everything. As usual, there are timestamps down below, and as well as that, at the end of the video, I will cover the thing I've gotten like 100 messages about, which is I will talk about all the Massive Darkness and VAT and all this stuff in terms of shipping and drama and all that. I will cover that at the end of the video. If that's all you're here for, then, I mean, first of all, you got the singing too, but if that's all you're here for, head on over to timestamps down below, where I talk about Massive Darkness, VAT, and all of that. Past that, again, I'm Alex, not again, for the first time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Welcome to the animation collection from Scooby-Doo, to which I have currently pledged, and I am probably keeping my pledge. It's not as simple as all that. Probably, but not for certain. So let's go through this. And the animation collection is going to be CMON's newest Kickstarter campaign, and it is a very short one, coming in at 6 days for this campaign. This is one of their shorter campaigns since, I don't know, since a long time. And they have had occasional campaigns in the past that are on the shorter side, and we will be making a bunch of comparisons, because if you were expecting cold, hard facts, well, you'll have to come back in a week or so when I actually know more. For right now, there's going to be a lot of speculation, a lot of guesswork, but still ultimately, we'll go through it. Let's go through it together. So, the games themselves. They're going to be 3 different games on the table, 2 of them both using the Mayhem system, so having a little bit more commonality, and then the Scooby-Doo board game. The Scooby-Doo board game, I have actually played. In fact, for each of these games, there is a video on Quacklope's channel. There are all the links. We'll talk about them as we browse through them, as we scroll past. But Scooby-Doo specifically is the only one of the 3 that I have had the opportunity to play, and my overall opinion of it is I like it, and I want it. And my question isn't whether I'm getting that one, my question is whether I'm getting the other 2, although, like I said, I probably am just because of math and stuff, and we'll get to all that. But Scooby-Doo the board game, my own opinion, miniature review as it were, is that I enjoy the game very much for what it is. I am saying, I enjoy base Scooby-Doo board game more than I enjoy base Marvel United. Now, Marvel United with the expansions is a different story. I don't know what expansions are going to be here for these games, and I'm skeptical that there'll be that many, at least based on past history. There might be some, we'll get into all that. But Scooby-Doo the board game, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a kind of game that I would happily play with my friends, I'd happily play with my family, and I would play it with people who want something a little on the lighter, on the gateway side. Ultimately, it's a cooperative experience in which you are going around the board, activating different locations, collecting different tokens, taking different abilities, all while ensuring the locations don't get flooded and overwhelmed, all while the main villain is moving around trying to get in your way, each main villain coming to the table with different things that are going to specifically get in your way, different ways they mix up the game state, so it's a little bit of a puzzle going on. In fact, I was describing this to Jan from Quacklope, and he mentioned that it sounded like Horrified, and I was like, that's actually not a bad comparison. It's different in many of the ways it actually executes, but the general overarching notes are going to have similarities. Obviously, Horrified is like a $20 game, and Scooby-Doo the board game is going to be an $80 game, but one also comes with deluxeified painted miniatures and all that, plus all these stretch goals and exclusives, versus the other one is at retail. If you want to wait till retail to get Scooby-Doo, it'll probably be closer to the $40-50 range. I don't know for sure. All speculation, guesswork, all that. But that's basically going to be Scooby-Doo. It is a light, cooperative game which you are collecting different tokens so you can activate different traps and eventually trap the villain. That is basically the game. I enjoyed it. I would not say no to playing it with, adults and game night or whatnot, but it's also not when I'd be volunteering, similar to the fact that I don't play Pandemic or Horrified or many of these games at my game nights, which tend to be heavier. I usually play them more with either family or gateway experiences when you have someone over who's not as heavily involved in the gaming world the same way I am. That's going to be the most in-depth review you're going to get in this video, because as far as, and here's the video with Scooby Doo the board game gameplay from Quacklope or all of that. From there we go to Teen Titans Go. Now Teen Titans Go and Looney Tunes are both going to be using the Mayhem system. So there's going to be broad overarching notes of how they work together while being different in their actual implementation. And both of them are going to be team-based skirmish games where you're each using your unique abilities of the various characters to run around and try to win the game. Team Titans is more focused on overall objectives and overall story points, and Looney Tunes is more focused on just, hitting each other on the head with a rubber mallet. So general same idea in terms of the same execution in terms of the main gameplay, different execution in terms of the differences and whatnot. Think of it as two different Ticket to Rides, or Arcadia Quest and Starcadia Quest. I mean, there's going to be differences. Those comparisons I just gave are literally just what I'm thinking of without having played either of those games, so take it with a heavy grain of salt, not dose of salt. Doses of salt are weird. And that's going to be what the games themselves are. They're obviously more family focused. It's going to be more in tune with Marvel United, where they're trying to expand to a general, larger gaming audience. This is not heavily focused to people who are backing Blood Rage, Arcadia Quest, Rum and Bones, Zombicide. It's a different audience than any of those. It is focused towards, expanding the gaming world in general, which in general I'm a fan of. It's a good thing. That may or may not make this the right campaign for you. If you do not have a family that is going to enjoy these games, if you yourself are not pulled in by the specific themes that you will, pull out at game night because, hey, you always like Looney Tunes, and smashing each other over the head with rubber mallets and Looney Tunes does hold a certain appeal that you might want to pull out at game night. But this may or may not just be the campaign for you because of the games on the table. As far as pledge levels, now you'll see over here, I currently am backing at $160 for that pledge level, and that's because like I said, currently am planning getting all of them, although I'm keeping my eyes peeled and I'm only making final decisions as the campaign hits a close. As far as past that, the other pledges, for $50 you can get either of the Mayhem games. Now these, keep in mind, are going to be Mayhem games. Each Mayhem game is going to be $50 on the Kickstarter, plus shipping. They are going to have pre-painted miniatures both in retail and on the Kickstarter. So both are going to be pre-painted miniatures, although if you back it in the Kickstarter, you're getting the additional 6 or 7 promos or whatnot along the way. In fact, let's see just how many there are. They're going to be, we have day 1, day 2, we have all the way up to day 7, day 8. So you're going to have 8 different promos for each of these 3 games that you would not otherwise get in retail. Everything you have to do, you do have to pay attention to what is marked with the Kickstarter exclusive tag over here. So for instance, you'll see Beast Boy does not have a Kickstarter exclusive tag, which means it may well show up in some sort of add-on pack at retail, which is something you're going to have to account for, which we will also account for as we continue talking. So that's going to be the Teen Titans. So for $50, you get one of the Mayhem pledges, either the Looney Tunes or the Teen Titans, your choice. As far as what you can expect to see in retail, first of all, you will be missing anything that is Kickstarter exclusive. Secondly, you will have to pay for anything that is a stretch goal but not Kickstarter exclusive. And then as far as price point, you are almost certainly not going to see the price point that we saw for Marvel United. Marvel United was a game that was on Kickstarter, which comes with a ton of stretch goals, whole different conversation, but the retail version of Marvel United did show up in Walmart for like $25, and that's a conversation piece, especially when people paid $65 or whatnot for their pledge on Kickstarter. Now again, you're getting a lot more on Kickstarter, so it's apples to oranges. It's not a fair comparison. But as far as the comparison here, I am skeptical that we will see either of the Mayhem systems available for $25, considering they come with pre-painted miniatures. It changes the conversation. They do come with fewer miniatures than Marvel United, so it could be. I would guess you're probably looking in the $35 to $40 range of what you can expect to see the Mayhem systems in at retail. Keep in mind, this is an educated guess. It is not a fact. In terms of what does that mean for you, that means that you're paying $50, $60, depending on international shipping as well, to get something that will be available for 2/3 the price at retail, roughly 2/3 the price at retail. So you're going to have to answer for yourself, are those extras worth it for yourself, especially and more importantly the exclusives, because the non-exclusive extras, generally you'll be able to get them anyway and the price will still be in your favor waiting for retail. So it's really going to come down to how much you particularly care about those exclusives, and that's going to be true of the Mayhem pledge of that. From there we move to the Scooby Doo pledge. Now the Scooby Doo pledge at retail will not be pre-painted. So if you specifically want them not pre-painted so you can paint them yourself, that may make the retail option better. But past that, you will, if you want the pre-painted miniatures, Kickstarter is your only option, so you have to factor that in. And again, it's not going to be $80 in retail. It absolutely will not be. But it will not be pre-painted, it will not come with the stretch goals, it will not come with the Kickstarter exclusive stretch goals. So it's probably going to fall in the same category price point wise of you could get it now or get it later, but it depends on whether you value saving that extra $20, $30, maybe even $40 versus getting those extras. That's going to be the decision you have to make about Scooby Doo and about Mayhem. Past that, the additional pledge levels are only going to be basically savings on what is already on the table. So if you want the complete Mayhem pledge, instead of $50 each, it's $45 each. So you're basically saving $5, makes it a better, more appealing deal. You should do that. That takes a chunk out of shipping. Although, do you really need two Mayhem systems? They're basically similar games. I mean, you haven't even played it yet. Do you need it? I don't know. Probably don't need it, but if you need anything, you probably shouldn't be watching these videos to begin with. Then we get to the Scooby and Mayhem, which is going to be $120 for Scooby Doo plus a Mayhem pledge, and that's going to be basically if you take the full price of the $80 Scooby Doo pledge, then you're getting a Mayhem pledge for $40 instead of $50, which is $10 off there. So although I guess technically you're getting $5 off either, so it's whatever it is. You're basically saving $10 on what it would otherwise cost to get it. So not that much different than the complete Mayhem pledge. Then we have what I'm getting, which is the complete collection, which brings you in at $80 for the Scooby-Doo pledge, plus the Mayhem pledges, both Mayhem pledges for an additional $80. That brings the price down to $40, or a savings of $20 if you get absolutely everything. So all those additional pledge levels are just ways of saving a few extra bucks in terms of if you're getting everything. Let's talk about optional buys before we talk about stretch goals. Optional buys. Optional buys are a question. This is a short campaign, and very shortly I will go through a bunch of other short CMON campaigns to cover comparisons of where all my speculation and all that and how things are going to play out is coming from. But coming in at 6 or 7 days, this is one of the shortest campaigns I have seen from CMON. It's possibly beaten by Arcadia Quest Riders, had a 5-day campaign. We had Night of the Living Dead had like a 10-day campaign, and then CMON's promo collection or whatever it was, the comic book collection was I think also like 8 or 9 days. So coming at 8 days or 7 days, whatever this is going to be the second shortest CMON campaign I've ever seen, and nothing in that range that's not true. I was about to say nothing in that range had optional buys, but that's not true. Most of their shorter campaigns do not have optional buys. This campaign, the only one of their short campaigns that has an optional buys is going to be the comic collection they had, the comic and promos, which is the one over here basically. This one over here, the CMON Comics Volume 1. This was, I believe, an 8-day campaign that did have optional buys. And so the question is, are we going to see optional buys on this campaign, especially when it's so short? And I don't know. It's possible we will. And if you pay attention to the comments, some people have pointed out there are specific characters, like for instance in Looney Tunes, we don't see Tweety in any of the characters or any of the silhouettes of the stretch goals, because all these stretch goals have different silhouettes. So for example, we can see we're going to get Martian Manhunter? I think it's Martian Manhunter. It's been a while since I watched Looney Tunes. So you can see Martian Manhunter over here. I haven't bothered going through all of these. If you care, you can go through the comments and see people's speculation of which ones are which. But if there are any missing, then that's always prime speculation as to whether that's going to be an optional buy in this campaign or something we see down the road. We saw the same conversations happening in Marvel United when people are like, where's the X-Men? Who knows? Or where's Spider-Man? We have the Cat. We don't have Spider-Man. That means we're going to see a Spider-Man optional buy. All these speculations are interesting conversations that generally will lead to information. So we may well see an optional buy. The short campaign makes me think we won't. The missing specific characters make me think we might see, let's say, one optional buy revealed every 2 days. If this is a 8-day campaign, I wouldn't be surprised if we see one optional buy every 2 days, one for each of the 3 intellectual properties. But again, guesswork, likely to not be completely overloaded. Then again, when the base pledges for everything is $160, you may well be looking at an extra $30 per optional buy, bringing you to $250, which brings you to typical CMON full pledge range. That is going to be everything going on there. Past that, the last thing I'll cover is the stretch goals. So already day 1, we have Black Knight, Beast Boy, and Yosemite Sam. Yosemite Sam is one of my favorite characters, along with Martian Manhunter and Tasmanian Devil, who's already in the base game. So I'm already all set on Looney Tunes. Scooby Doo, I was never personally someone who really watched it. My kids will like every one of the things that they get. And Teen Titans Go, I know nothing about. It's got Robin. That's as far as I go. Good luck writing a song in that one when you don't know a thing. In any case, so that is going to be the stretch goals coming out, and they said there are going to be no stretch goals that are monetary unlocks. It's all going to be daily reveals, and again, pay attention to that Kickstarter exclusive. That's going to be a big deal. Let's cover shipping and VAT before we go into other campaigns. Shipping and VAT. Shipping is going to be $15 to $27 for one game and $18 to $32 for all 3 games. And if you pay attention to all of these, just go through your particular region to see what your particular price point is going to be. And again, factor that into your decision. This is going to be cheaper at retail, but you're not getting the exact same thing. I do not believe that this is a CMON campaign that is a clear and obvious inherent back that you should 100% get compared to some other CMON campaigns, including Marvel United, which I think is a clear back. So it's going to be a tricky conversation. Factor those in. We'll cover more about should you back it or not shortly. And then VAT, and we'll talk about this again more at the end, but VAT is going to be calculated in the Pledge Manager for countries that are part of the European region. VAT varies between 17 and 27%, etc., etc. The point is they are announcing VAT because, well, now we know it's a thing, so they're announcing it. This is the first thing I went to go look for as soon as I hopped onto the campaign page to see what's going on. That's going to be basically everything. Let's cover should you back it. So, should you back it or not? Will it hold its value? It's not a clear answer. I believe yes. My short answer is I believe yes, but not a clear yes, and also not like a, oh my gosh, you can sell this down the road for twice its price or whatever it is. It will not hold its value in that sense. You have to compare it to other similar things. Now, the first thing people are going to want to compare it to is Marvel United, but I don't believe that's a valid comparison. Marvel United was a campaign that ran for 23 days. Your base pledge of whatever it was, $60, got you basically a ton of extras. Not like here's 8 extra promos. It was just promo, just until you got exhausted. Not that the characters are as differentiated as I would like, which is unfortunate, but you can't have everything in life, so you take what you can get, and you get what you get, and you don't get upset. So my kids come home from school with that. It's good advice. But Marvel United. So basically, Marvel United on day 1 raised $400,000 day 1, or $450,000. 23 days, ran for 23 days, had a whole bunch of optional buys throughout. This is not going to be that campaign. We're looking at probably in $250,000 to $300,000 day 1. I'd wager 1.5 million closing is going to be. I'd be surprised if it crosses 1.5 million in terms of by the time the campaign is over in 6 more days. But we'll see. Hey, I'm happy for CMON if it gets higher. Totally fine with that. But I do not think Marvel United is a fair comparison. The scope of the campaigns are very different. We cannot look at Marvel United as a valid comparison. The ones we are going to look at are going to be Night of the Living Dead, which was a short campaign coming in at, let's see over here, it came in at 9 days, and this is one that had no optional buys, but it did have exclusives. So if you look at the exclusive over here, it came with 4 survivors, 2 goals, and 2 equipment cards with exclusives. Similar to what we're doing here, but even smaller. Just here's a few extras, nothing crazy. Now, there's not a ton of data on Living Dead, but so far, the Night of the Living Dead so far is selling for what people paid for it or more. It's not a clear sell, there's not a ton of demand, but overall, I would say if you back Night of the Living Dead, you can probably get your $80 plus shipping back on that one. So things are looking good so far, even though it's only like 4 survivors and 2 goals and 2 equipment cards, which is not a lot, and it's important to remember that. So again, Night of the Living Dead is a solid but not amazing back. Then they were going to go to Arcadia Quest Riders, which again had a few extras. I think it had 2 exclusive riders. It had, actually, I think it may have had an optional buy too. Arcadia Quest may have actually had an optional buy. That was a campaign that came in at 5 days, the shortest CMON campaign ever, and it may actually have had an optional buy. I think I forgot about the optional buy. There was an optional buy for 1 riders, and then an optional buy, and then the exclusive mount pack as well that you can get over there. Let me see if there's an optional buy here. I don't know. I don't remember. But in any case, that is basically going to be Arcadia Quest Riders, and that one sadly did not hold its value. Arcadia Quest Riders tanked very quickly in value. There just wasn't a ton of demand for this extra Arcadia Quest expansion, and the retail was cheap enough that even those 2 extra riders did not really hold its value. You didn't lose a ton, but yeah, you lost $15-$20 if you tried selling it on the secondhand market. Moving from there to CMON Comics. CMON Comics, we cannot talk about that hold its value or not because it hasn't shown up yet, but it's just basically a bunch of comic books and a ton of extras and exclusives for 3 different game systems, and that was a campaign that ran for 10 days, had a few optional buys along the way. This I brought up more for optional buys as opposed to should you back it, should you not, all of that. So where does it leave us? I think the most accurate comparison is going to be Night of the Living Dead Zombicide. I think that is the closest comparison to whether there will be a demand for these extras. The problem is it's not the exact same market because one is more of a kid family audience, one is more of a Zombicide audience, so there is a difference in the markets. I believe that the animation collection represents a relatively safe back, meaning you will almost certainly be able to get the game cheaper, not almost certainly, you will certainly be able to get the game cheaper at retail, but it will not be the same game. As far as whether you want to get this now on Kickstarter and get the extras versus at retail, that is your own choice. It just comes down to what you value more, the extra money or the extras. As far as whether it will hold its value if you do not like it, if you get Scooby Doo the board game and Scooby Doo is not for you and you want your money back and whatnot, can you sell it and get your money back? I think you will. but it's going to be close, and it's not a certain safe back by a long shot. Definitely not yet, unless there's some surprises on the campaign. Obviously, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you'll get updates in my weekly Monday roundups where I cover new updates, new information, new all of that. So if you want to find out more there, that will be relevant in that sense. But that's basically what it comes down to. There's enough data here to suggest that this is a relatively safe back, while also being different than the CMON's usual fare, making it not a certain back by any means. Lastly, let's cover VAT, and that's basically everything Scooby Doo Animation Collection. Let's cover drama around Massive Darkness and VAT. So the most important thing that we're going to want to cover offhand is, if you look at the comments, it's not specifically in the updates, but if you go to Massive Darkness, we're currently in the Massive Darkness campaign, not that you can see or whatnot, but hey, Massive Darkness. So if you scroll down and you pay attention to the comments, they are currently offering 100% refunds on your pledge if you're unhappy with the situation. Okay, so CMON is saying, hey, here's VAT, it's a big deal, it wasn't announced, we didn't have clear whatever it is, and here's a 100% refund, we're gonna eat the fees. Now, I'm not sitting here saying CMON is some white knight, because I'll play out both sides of the argument here. The first thing is, VAT is not a way that companies make money. VAT is a way that companies don't get shut down from lawsuits or who knows what. VAT is a regional thing that the European Union sits there and says, hey, we got VAT, you got to pay taxes, and companies have to pay those taxes. There were all kinds of conversations about how VAT used to be handled in the past. It used to be that they were able to pay VAT on the manufacturing cost. You'd have it landed in the country or whatnot, and you'd be able to pay VAT on a lower cost. That is no longer the case. Companies are reasonably and rightly worried about getting into actual trouble for this. So CMON is not making money on VAT. I've seen multiple comments along those lines. That's not what's happening here. So the devious, evil CMON part that people want to hear is that CMON wanted to trick you into backing the game. They knew you wouldn't have, and so they sat there and said, you know what? We'll wait until the pledge manager and we'll release that information then. That's when we'll tell people, because then people already bought it and they'll have to take their refund, and they're not going to want to, and so yeah, we'll trick them into buying the game before telling them about the fees they're going to have to incur. So the first thing is that's possible. Listen, I mean, I run a company. It's something I understand the nature of trying to always play that balance of giving people as much information as possible. Like, for instance, Board Game Co., we do ship internationally. We do warn people about that, but we didn't initially until we got complaints, and then we're like, oh, we probably should warn people. So that's a factor. It's a learning pain. There's a term for it. Learning something. That growing pain. That's the word I'm looking for. It was a growing pain of shipping internationally. So it's possible CMON tried to maliciously take your money, but then they probably shouldn't be offering 100% refunds and eating the fees, because anyone who takes them up on that, CMON is eating the fees on that. They're losing money. They're not even getting the sale, and they're like, okay, if you paid $500 for your all-in CMON pledge and you say I'm canceling, CMON just lost $50 and didn't even get a sale. So if they're going with the whole evil corporate overlord, they probably shouldn't offer 100% refunds on your money, which means maybe they're counting on the fact that not enough people will ask for refunds. Maybe you're now emotionally invested in your game. You could sit there and have all the arguments about how evil CMON is that you want. But I would wager if they really were truly evil, they should just not offer a 100% refund on your pledge. Which means my overall opinion of the CMON VAT situation and all the drama around Massive Darkness is that you want to say CMON could have been more transparent. You'd have to know about their inner workings. You'd have to know when they knew, what they knew, how they could have handled it. I don't have that knowledge. If you do, if you know what went on in the boardroom and the conversations behind, great. Until then, you're casting aspersions, calling them evil, while they're eating up money in order to offer you a refund that you're upset about. If you're upset about VAT and the concept of paying taxes and fees, I get it. I just don't think CMON's necessarily the one to be blamed for that. I mean, taxes and fees are something I don't like. I'm Canadian. I was born in Canada, was there till I was 20 or whatever it was, and I frequently had to pay exorbitant taxes to get things internationally. I know the pain. It may not be your exact pain, but I know the system. I know the problem, and it's frustrating and it's not fun. But as long as CMON is offering 100% fee refunds, I have a problem calling them the corporate overlord that is just there to screw you out of your money. I think that sucks. That's not fun. And someone's going to be left holding the bag, and it's unfortunate. But that is the nature of the system. Does that mean that you may not want to back the next CMON Kickstarter? Does that mean you may not want to back the animation collection? Yeah, it might mean that, and that's okay. That is your decision. You have to make a decision that you can make with the knowledge that you have. It's frustrating. I get it. I'm just not blaming CMON for paying taxes on international things that they kind of legally have to. And that's everything. That's the animation collection. That's going to be the VAT drama that I've gotten a million requests to talk about. As usual, I find myself taking the side of CMON. I give CMON a hard time too. By the way, CMON, when you're watching this, hi there. Good to see you. But yeah, I give CMON a hard time about things. I do. I genuinely do. I sit there and I say that these are the areas I think they can do better. But this is just not one where I know enough to say that they could have done better. And what they could do better right now is offering 100% refunds, and they're doing that. So the thing you could really realistically ask, they're doing. So I find myself defending CMON once again. I'll go ahead and attack them with something else next time. There's always a conversation. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it fun, and feel free to comment, let me know whatever. I'll comment back. I do that. Until next time, have a good one.